Hi, I'm back again, and I'm finally gonna try to replace the 9 capacitors on this Xbox 360 motherboard. I'll be testing and using for the first time this new Hakko FR-301 that I unboxed on this channel a couple of videos ago. I still haven't even used it yet, so I'm gonna get this out and be trying it for the first time. And I've got the parts that I need. I ordered these capacitors from Mauser's, and I just recently, yesterday actually in fact, unboxed and set up this microscope. I won't need that for this job, I don't believe, but I have it for other jobs and projects that I am planning to attempt. So as you can see, this stuff is all still brand new. Never used or tested, so hopefully everything works. And I have not used one of these before, so this will be new to me. So I think I only need to just plug this in and then wait a minute. I have it set on nearly the lowest temperature right now. Okay, so I think there actually is a switch there. No LED or anything. Oh, there we go. We have an LED on now, so that is heating up, I believe. And the 9 capacitors that we will be replacing are these 9 green Sanyo capacitors that are notorious on the Xbox 360 motherboards. This is a red ring of death. It is a revision 1.0 Xenon motherboard, their very first motherboard, the oldest model. I believe this might even be my launch day console. I have many Xbox 360s around here, but this could be my very first original that I would have gotten on its launch day. And I've since, this has been long dead. I can't remember even when it died or its exact origins, but I believe this to be my original. And it's been dead for a long time, and I've since removed and reapplied thermal paste to the CPU and the GPU. I've inspected, reheated, reflowed a couple chips here with my hot air station. That was really only just me playing. That's another new tool that I have here. I was kind of just playing around with that. Not expecting this thing to ever boot again, and I'm sure that it probably won't, but these 9 capacitors will be a new reason for me to test this other new tool that I have now that you'll see here, the FR-301 from Hakko. I may even need to use their soldering iron, which is another new tool that I haven't used. I only just got all my tools finally set up to the point where I really want to start getting into this now. The microscope is kind of the last step, and I did that yesterday. So now that everything is here, some of these projects are going to start. First one will be to, this is mostly just going to be for practicing and learning because I have nothing to lose on this Xbox. It is dead, probably always will be. I'm going to try replacing some of these parts. These parts come cheap. You can order them in bulk quantities, and this stuff is all pennies and dollars, so it's cheap to have an attempt. If it does boot again, that's great. That's cool. It'll be fun to see that if it did happen, but not expecting it. So yeah, this will be more of a lesson on how to use this tool, how to replace capacitors, and if anyone else is new to that and wants to come along for the ride, we'll see how this works. This will be a first for all of us that are new to watching this. So again, I don't even know what to expect here exactly. I know the basics of how this should work. I'll want to apply this onto the point. I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see that there, but I'm going to want to kind of wiggle it until I can feel the solder melt there. is freed right now is freed, and that hole cleared out real easily actually, but this other one so I don't know if that I need more heat there, or I am expecting to probably need to apply some solder and flux possibly to freshen up these solder joints, which would help allow this solder to flow. I think I could definitely stand to try a higher temperature here too. Usually this manufactured board solder sometimes might need a little extra heat, I think. We'll try that first. Otherwise we may need to apply some flux, some solder. This will be a bit of work to get these 9 capacitors out of the board, so you probably don't need to watch me struggle with that the whole way through the video. So I may take pauses from the video and catch you guys up as I go. So that one hole worked amazing, and these other ones, everything seems to be clear. It's like the solder well, this isn't quite as easy as I thought it might be, but that was also to be expected. And it's just a matter of getting these tools dialed in to the right settings, and like I said, I don't think it would hurt to have some fresh solder applied to that. So I think that's the next thing we're going to try here. And this will be also for the first time, will be this new soldering iron. Also new solder. I don't think I need it that hot. So I'm going to set it to 400. I'm going to apply some, so I have new solder here. All my research for all these tools and stuff, I did a lot of research on solder and flux and all the supplies I would need for this stuff. So I went with this Kester solder that was highly recommended in this specific composition, which is no clean, and the diameter is 0.031 inches. So that seemed to be the consensus. There's a million different kinds and sizes and compositions of solder. That's what I chose to go with for the specific application that I'll mostly be doing. This no clean flux was also highly recommended and easily sourced. I got this from the solder from Mauser's, and this came from Amazon. I bought it in both a tub and a syringe, in fact. So we're just going to try it here with the tub to begin. And I think what I'm going to do is just take a little bit there and then just work on that first one that I had that was freed up on one side but not the other. So some solder here. Just going to pop off a piece of that. And let's try this soldering iron out here for the very first time too. I don't know how well you guys can see that there. I might turn the temperature up on this a little bit. It doesn't seem. Turn it up to 450. Well, that's nice. It seems like it heats up fast, according to that. Okay, yeah, that does actually seem to be working quite a bit better. The lights. These lights aren't helping much, I can tell you that. The lighting isn't great here for this type of work. Wow. What I can tell you is that solder that I just put on there cooled up and was collected. Wow. That was pretty cool. The new solder that I had applied there, as soon as the tip went into it, it melted and collected. As soon as I pulled that trigger, you could see it go right up the nozzle and freed the rest that was there too. I don't know that that hole, it may be actually. I'm going to clean this with isopropyl alcohol. Again, I hope to keep doing this kind of stuff, and if I do, which I plan to, I will get nicer cameras and stuff here that can zoom in on all this. In fact, that's why I bought this microscope. It has a trinocular head, and right now it doesn't have a camera on it. But as you can see there, that third eyepiece is fitted there for a camera, and this specific model will allow you to use the both stereo microscope and the camera at the same time. So I would be able to capture footage and then even stream if I wanted to. I don't think that I'm ever going to get into the streaming thing, but it has that capability. So that looks basically brand new there, and it leaves me a nice place to insert the new capacitor. I don't know that both of those holes were cleared there. See, not quite on that one. That one there, no problem. But that other hole, it looks awfully close. So you can sure hear that. I don't know how well that microphone on this camera, it's only a GoPro that I'm using here, so again, this is very amateur. But you can really hear that tip, that vacuum, as it makes and breaks the seal on that. But I don't know if it's just where it's that factory solder that's in there, the stuff that I applied definitely was able to get picked up there. So I'm actually just going to pre-tin this next one before even having a go at it. Again, I think I need the solder here. I think it's just this old factory solder that they use on these boards is so don't be afraid to use, and that's what I've kept hearing and reading over and over, was do not be afraid to use too much flux. Oh yeah, so oh yeah, that one worked good, I think. I think you could even see the smoke there. Oh, those holes are absolutely perfectly cleared there. That one came out so nicely. As soon as that tip made contact with that solder, and both of those holes are clear there. It's going to be hard for you guys to see. I'll bring you in with the camera here. And again, this camera is not well suited for this type of work, but I don't know how well that's coming up there on the screen, but those two holes are absolutely cleared out. As you can see on this other one, the bottom hole, that was the one that freed up nicely in the beginning. That top hole is still filled in, but I think with this applying the flux, the solder, and then going at it after that is the way to go, because as you can see, that is basically factory fresh holes there that I can use to install the new components with. So I'm going to probably off camera apply and tin all 9, the remaining 7 I should say, capacitors, and maybe you guys can jump back in while I remove them, or maybe I'll speed that up or something. I'm not very good with the editing yet. That's something that's going to take some time, more than these mods themselves. It's the editing that is all the work that is entirely new to me. Some of this stuff is familiar, but the editing is something that I really don't have any experience with. So unfortunately, the production value on these videos isn't going to be great to begin with, but hopefully that's a skill that I can learn over time, and they'll get better as I go. So let me get the rest of this board prepped, and you guys can jump back in, and we'll carry on after it's ready to go and remove the rest of the capacitors. Okay, I'm back. I've actually removed 5 of them. That process is a whole lot easier when you do apply just a little bit of flux and then tin the points with solder. I can tell that this is the factory solder that's causing any issues. If this was all freshly soldered, I think that this gun would be behaving like absolutely flawlessly and making this experience so easy, which it already does comparative. And I've gone ahead and pre-tinned a couple of these now. But again, I believe there was a healthy amount of fresh solder left on that one. And this gun pulls it all right in like nothing. It's hard to even get the solder to play nice with the gun, with the soldering iron and fresh solder. Even just getting the solder to melt to this factory solder is a bit of a chore, and I think I'm going to change the tip on my iron. It seems the round holes come easy. The square holes are the ones that are problematic. So with a little bit of work and just a little more solder and flux, the rest of these 4 capacitors will come off nicely. Those other 5 came off pretty easy. I know a couple of them came off on camera, and then I was just planning to tin the joints and then come back to you guys, but it just will all happen so quickly that they were coming off nicely. So I just thought I'd do the last couple of with you guys. I think these 2 could actually be the culprits right here. This could be what have possibly caused the red ring of death. These are the 2 closest to the CPU. One is definitely leaked. Okay, well that one just came out nicely. Those holes look cleared. This one here. Okay, those ones are almost out. I can see that they're almost cleared there, so I actually meant to grab some better lighting when I was just off camera. And I'm just going to just kind of touch up those last couple there. There's only 2 left on here, 3 left, and they're mostly freed. That one, both of these have 2 legs, almost 3 there. That one looks pretty ready to come out of there. It sure feels like it wants to come out of there, but just wiggled out of there. It actually leaves the hole nice and clear too when you wiggle them out like that. A little bit helps if it's not in there too tight. You definitely don't want to pull that via out with it. So sometimes it just takes, it all takes a little bit of feel, but yeah, these are almost ready to come out of there. This tip I don't think is the best tip for this. It's too fine of a tip that there's just no, it's more difficult to transfer the heat into the leg of this. That initial solder goes so quick. It's not a problem of this sucking up the solder that I apply. It's getting what that old factory solder, which is so close. Well, I might take you guys off camera again, and I'm just going to get those last couple out. I'm just going to repeat that process a couple times there. I may end up even changing the tip on my soldering iron and trying out something new with that, because I am going to need to solder all 9 of these back in there. Although I believe that tip would probably get the job done for that, but I'm still going to try something new here. I want to see if that actually does make a big difference come for these last couple to come out, so that'll show me how much easier a tip change might be. So I'll take you guys off camera for just a moment while I change out that tip and let this stuff cool down, and I'll be back. Okay, I've gone and done a couple of things actually. I've downloaded and plugged in my soldering iron through USB into my computer, downloaded the Hakko control software, confirmed I was running the latest firmware on my soldering iron, which was cool. Set all my preset temperatures. I switched it to Celsius instead of Fahrenheit, and yeah, I have everything kind of set up and it's graphing there, kind of neat. It was easier than doing it on that interface, which isn't great, to be honest with you, but through the software it was quite easy. And I just need to get out these last two capacitors there now. I have the new tip on the soldering iron. That seemed to have worked well. The new temperatures are better now. It's strange these how a couple of them could be a little tricky when most of the others went so easily, but that's how it goes. Make sure I'm grabbing and pulling on the right one down there. There's one right beside it that is fine. Felt come free right in my hand. This one feels pretty loose. Again, it's always the square hole. That round one came out perfectly and easily. Okay, we're free there now. Okay, I think there's only the one remaining. And it's quite loose in there, I can feel it. So that's a neat feature. I noticed that it was in sleep, and as soon as I pulled it out of its holder and base, it automatically came out of sleep, which was a nice feature. Yeah, the solder with the fresh solder and everything is not the problem. It's this old factory solder that tinned up so nicely there that hopefully it comes out nicely this time. Oh, it sure felt like it was coming there. It's out. So now what I need to do is I'm going to be cleaning this motherboard. I need to test that all 18 of those holes the original way that I intended to do all of this was going to be with this desoldering wick that I have here. This is also new. I don't know if I'm gonna actually need it here. I'm gonna try some actually. There's a couple of problematic holes. I'm thinking just a little bit of wick. that needs. I can feel my soldering iron getting right into that via, and it is perfectly tin there right now. If I were trying to attach a wire or something, that would be a beautiful connection. Okay, I think I just learned a nice little trick there, and that worked flawlessly. So, which was the whole point of this project, was to learn some things and to practice and to learn some tricks, and I believe I just did. So once that was filled in with fresh solder, as you've seen there, maybe I had my tip there and I left it there for a little bit so that I knew all that solder was being heated, and rather than being sucked away instantly or quickly, I was allowing it to make sure that all that solder was molten, so that when I applied the vacuum, it appears that it just took it all with it, because all that solder had the chance to heat up and all become kind of one and molten, so that when I applied the vacuum there, that is maybe the cleanest hole of them all right now. So I think that's the trick, is to kind of get that solder in there. Get fresh solder in there helps definitely, and allow it to all kind of heat up, melt, and then pull the trigger, get it all with that clean pull. And so that seemed to have worked really good. I have some flux and stuff now on this board I'll need to clean off on both sides, but you can see that that gun, which I think I'm done with now, and I can unplug, worked wonders for that, because the soldering wick method, although with enough patience and time, you could probably get that to work too, but that didn't seem like it was going to be an easy process, and probably very tedious. Which is why I think this tool was a good investment. I knew this was one of the first jobs that I wanted to do. Even though, like I said, I don't think this is actually even going to work. But I still wanted to be able to replace capacitors. That's just a problem that these old consoles are going to have eventually. And I know that that's something that it's going to be advantageous to be able to replace those as they die, or before they die ideally, because those are what could kill your console, and maybe in this case they have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so I have 5 of them here. And there's 6, 7, 8, 9 right there, so clean both sides. Those new capacitors are going to sit in there. You can see they're labeled for anode and cathode. The same with on here, so you would put the side with the stripe on with the side with the stripe, so kind of simple to align those. So it'll be these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 capacitors that are being replaced here today, which are these here, these 9 here. That are the Sanyo capacitors. The rest of these capacitors look fine, and they are not known to cause problems. Not near as much as these anyways in the research that I've done. So these, and I could tell that some of them were leaking, a bit swollen, especially I looked at them under the microscope there last night, and yeah, they were easy to tell even before I had the microscope that they were most likely failed. Now, whether that was the cause of the red ring of death, there's a very good chance it's still, this will happen regardless if this does temporarily fix this system. It will eventually die of the red ring, which is probably what it already has done because of the CPU and the GPU, and I can't remember if one is worse than the other, but it's about a way that they were applied in the factory at the beginning, where they used some of the wrong material in between the chip and the motherboard, and the thermal cycling of the heating and the cooling of that chip over time, causing it to flex and basically causing the chip to become separated from the motherboard. And people have tried all kinds of things over the years, like putting these things in toaster ovens to melt the solder, which is kind of a similar process to what I tried with my hot air gun, and just heated up the chips. I had the heat sinks off. It was actually very handy to have that gun to get these heat sinks off too. They were definitely not coming off. They were seized on there from age, and it helped tremendously getting those heat sinks off. So it was nice for that. And yeah, I didn't expect that to work. I was mostly wanting to play with my hot air station, which is very cool. It's also a new product from Quick. It's their 861 Pro. I believe it's quite new on the market. It comes recommended. I know their previous one, the 861, came highly recommended. The Hakko is kind of, I really like Hakko products, but their hot air station is a bit expensive for what it is, and the one that I have here has much nicer features, so I was happy to get that. So I'm going to go ahead now and just maybe I'll just do a couple at a time here, but I will get these new ones installed in their holes. So they go like that. So once you have them lined up and properly aligned, they should all just drop in. And when you flip things over, you can just give those legs a little bend if you want, and then they won't fall down through the holes. And then with them secured, you really only need to apply a little bit of solder to each of those. It's hard to see with the light. I keep meaning to get the better light here. This light's terrible. Actually, I'm going to have to get light. It'd be nice to have some better ventilation here too. Once I get my home lab built, I will have built in, and I have a window here. It's northern Canada right now, and it is minus 31 degrees Celsius when I woke up today. I'm sure it's warmed up a bit since then, but it is very cold right now. Cold enough that I really would rather not have to open up that window, but I think I will to finish this, because leaded solder fumes are just not something that you want to breathe. And I need better lighting here too. This is a miserable experience. These shadows are just casting with the legs especially, that it's just hard to see anything. So I'm going to put all this on hold while I go get, I need my flush cutters too. And I'm going to get a better light, and I might open up that window. So I'm going to take a little break here and we'll come back. Okay, I'm back. We'll see how this works. Got a work light here now. It's still a bit, this lighting is not ideal. I don't know if it's making the camera any worse right now, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to having my home lab built, because it's going to be much better than this. So, with those being installed, maybe check the other side. Make sure they feel tight. Nothing wiggles. You can expect some movement, but just want to make sure nothing feels kind of loose. Just come in, cut those off flush. Leave a little nub there. That looks pretty good from here. Yeah, those connections, you're not going to be able to see them good from there, but once I get my microscope set up with the camera, I'll definitely be able to show some very good looking images of that. And I might do a final inspection with the microscope when I'm done here to make sure that all the connections look good. Okay, so those are our first two capacitors that are now replaced. So we want to go ahead and populate the rest of these holes with the capacitors. Okay, so now we have all 9 capacitors in the holes. So I'm going to double check on all their orientation to make sure that that's all correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they're all in the right spots and they all have the right orientation. So now we'll secure them on one side. 1, 2. Just give the legs a little bend and they can't fall out. Let me turn this upside down and we should be able to get all of these now in one shot. I have my soldering iron set to 375. Might not even need it to be that hot, but it's working right now. I might just apply some flux just to each of these, just to get in there. Get some flux in there. It'll definitely make everything flow that much better. Flux. Okay, so with that now, should be 2. So it's all together. Yeah, that's all it is. That flux makes a difference. So I just, once I'm in the right spot, I'm flux around. Trying to stay out of the path of those fumes. That window is frozen shut, it's freezing out there. I'm going to leave it alone. What do you guys would have? I guess I just use the showing you guys. Okay, everything looks good there now. I'm going to go ahead and trim all those legs. And now I'm just going to give them all a little touch up. It's because it just makes it a little prettier. Okay. That should do it for the replacement. I might be done with the soldering iron and stuff now. So, as you can see, we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 new capacitors. The rest of these are all good. These old Sanyo ones have been replaced with these new Panasonic ones that are much more, they're a better capacitor. From the research I did, these came recommended as the replacements for those. And that even though this thing may not ever come back to life, had this been a good working Xbox, I would believe that these would probably outlast the rest. If, well, who knows? Capacitors do have a lifetime, but this console would last much longer than I'd probably be playing it. So I'm going to actually get the microscope out here now. I'm going to clean some things up. I'm going to get the microscope out. Actually, what I can do is I will just clean those connections just one more time with isopropyl alcohol. And just a little bit. Okay, everything looks good to the naked eye, and I'm sure that it'll be fine under the microscope too, but since I just got it, and it's a new toy, and that I kind of bought it for situations such as this, where I want to do an inspection. That is something that should be easy enough to do now. Quite easily, actually. So, everything I need to look at is here. I may need to lift my scope up. I'm going to wash up here. I have some flux and stuff on my fingers, so before I start, before I bring out my microscope and start getting my hands dirty on that, I'm going to wash up. So I have the microscope out now, and all the connections look good. And I don't know if this is just light reflections. From this angle it looks good. But I'm going to come in and just apply the tiniest bit more on this connection. Okay, that definitely looks And yeah, you can see under the scope that everything there looks perfect now. So this scope is beautiful. The imagery that it produces and the magnification, how close I can get in to those connections is amazing. It's very cool. And I can actually just amazing. Like those legs, as thin as those legs are, and they're tiny. I never even knew this or noticed before that where I flush cut them, you can see that there's actually 4 strands. Or is that a different connection? Just the fibers that are even left behind from the Q-tip. There's definitely some more cleaning here. Yeah, okay, that one with the 4 strands is actually a different component. But you can see like the metal grain structure under this microscope. It's amazing. So I'm quite confident that those capacitors are connected, installed well. What's nice is this scope can just be stowed out of the way like that. Under the microscope I can see that there is some more housekeeping to be done on this board. I don't think you'll ever get it clean to the level that that microscope is seeing. Yeah, these bigger components here, there's actually 4 wires coming up through there. From my naked eyes from here, it only looks like there would be 1, but there are 4 individual strands. Each of those that you can see under the scope. Alright, I'm not going to spend too much time at this because, like I said, I don't even expect this to work, but it won't take us long to find out actually, because I have the chassis for it right here, and it just needs to drop into there. Yeah, everything should be ready enough that if I plug the fans in, and I don't need this to be whole again, but if I just plug in enough of its parts to think that it's a full Xbox again. Is this the right chassis for this Xbox? As you can see, I have a bunch of chassis down here. And I believe that should be the one. We need this DVD drive to plug in. Anyways, I really actually don't need to worry about the perfect fitment of this right now, as long as I can plug in the parts, which is that front I/O board and this DVD drive. With all those components hooked up, I should be able to power this thing on right. Well, we'll see. I'm not expecting any miracles here. But I have a power supply. This is the 203 watt version that I'm working with here, so this will work with this revision of the motherboard along with all others. This was the most powerful of their power supplies. The systems became more efficient over time, and the power supplies were actually reduced. So they were keyed so the higher power supplies would work in a console that required less power, but not vice versa. So that if you had a system that needed the 203 watts that this one does, a 175 watt power supply, for example, would not fit into it. So everything looks good enough here that we should just be able to plug this in. I'm kind of expecting the red ring of death. Fans don't even turn on or anything the last time I tried. So we'll see if anything changes here. Like I said, I'm not expecting anything to, but who knows? So let's cross our fingers. What would happen is I want to be able to just see is the power supply light. Sorry if I bumped the camera. I don't know if you can see that power supply light, when I hit the power button, used to go red, indicating there would be a short in here somewhere, most likely, or possibly from one of those capacitors. So we'll see if that behavior changes when I hit the power button here. So it is now green. The system is booting. I do have red lights, 4 of them strangely, but this is actually a good sign. Those fans or nothing would turn on before, and the light is green and the power supply is continuing to operate. So this system may just see life again. I have to investigate these codes now and get this hooked up to a TV and assembled a little more properly. But those fans are on, which never came on before. And the power supply would instantly fault and go red and then fail. So we are definitely making progress here. I'm going to just power cycle this and see if anything changes. It goes back to orange, standby properly. I have 4 red lights though, so I'm going to be able to diagnose those codes, hopefully, using a, I need to check it again, the eject and pairing button. I believe you can hold them in a certain order, and it'll trigger this to give you a code by which light flashes and how many times. But overall, I'm blown away right now that this thing actually kind of boots. It turns on, it doesn't fault out red with the power supply, it stays green, it's running. I can hear the DV drive trying to do something. Fans spin up. I can feel heat being generated into the heat sinks as well. So the CPU and the GPU are both active right now. There's new thermal paste in here. I did apply in my first attempt to resurrect this some MX6. I would like to see what this thing has on a TV screen now. So yeah, if you guys are interested, I don't know if that'll be another video or not, but I'm gonna see what happens to this thing when it's hooked up to a TV. Yeah, join along if you like. Otherwise, it appears that changing those 9 capacitors definitely solved the problem of the capacitors, which was at the very least one system problem that this had, because it is definitely behaving much better right now. Those 9 capacitors are replaced, and I do no longer have a short on the motherboard, which I used to, because that's what that red light would indicate when it would instantly short out. Nothing would power up. It was the 12 volt rail, I believe, that was where my short was. And right now, I mean, this system is actually running right now. I would like to know what is coming up on the screen out the display port, which is not even HDMI. This is, like I said, their oldest revision of the motherboard, a Xenon 1.0, and this was before they even had HDMI. So I'm going to need to get out some component cables and get this hooked up and see what happens, because I'm blown away beside myself right now that this is actually possibly working somewhat better than it was, at least. So that was a fun experience. You know what? Changing out those 9 capacitors was awesome, and playing with these new tools, this desoldering gun is amazing. Definitely made that process a lot easier. Really didn't take much time at all, as you guys seen, and I'm sure that time could be shaved down and be done much quicker, because that was my first time using it and I had lots to learn, and I think I did learn a few things near the end. Yeah, there's some significant heat coming out through these heat sinks right now, and those fans are even ramping up right now. So I'm going to power this down, but this system, it's doing something. It's running and it's doing stuff. So I'd like to see what comes up on a screen. I'm going to reboot this. I'm going to power it down right now and let it cool off, unplug it, and hook it up to a TV and see exactly what's going on here, because yeah, I have no idea what to expect. So I might just make that another video. So that might be the next video. This video was really just trying out this new desoldering gun and replacing 9 capacitors. Progress is being made. This will be the 3rd video in the series, possibly. I haven't made the first 2 videos yet because I really didn't accomplish anything. The first video is, like I said, the first thing I tried was to apply, I removed the heat sinks using the hot air station, reapplied, cleaned off the old thermal paste, reapplied new thermal paste. That didn't make any difference. Used the heat gun just to kind of reflow a few chips. I don't know how much difference that made, if any. I don't think it didn't. No, the end result was no different. But the capacitors, which I suspected were a problem all along, just visually you can tell that some of them, and I don't know, some were worse than others. You can see, I don't know how well that'll show up on the camera there, but they're slightly swollen, and you can see that seepage through those expansion, I guess those are like rupture expansion seams where they will allow that leakage to happen instead of explode maybe. So I think that's what's going on there, is that they have failed internally and seeped out their inside contents. So some of them look fine, but a few of them did not. So I suspected those were at the very least one of the problems that this motherboard had. And judging by its progress, I would say that's confirmed now that those capacitors were a part of the problem, and that we are making progress, and that this Xbox may actually live to play another game. And I don't know that it will. And right now it's I'm semi-optimistic. I had very little hope up until about 5 minutes ago when we turned this thing on, and I never seen a red light for a short circuit. So there's no short on the motherboard right now. The power supply is remaining active, so that part is fixed. We have red lights. I don't know what that means yet. 4 of them, not 3. So that's something different. It could be that it's just not even hooked up to the TV and stuff. I can't remember all of its codes and such. Plus, what this thing has been through, I mean, it doesn't even probably know it's still an Xbox. So it'll need some TLC if this thing ever does come back to life. Who knows what kind of dashboard. This is probably still running the Blade dashboard on it. This is a relic from the past. This is a version 1 Xbox that died early, like so many others, and who knows, maybe this will see the light of day again. So join me in the next video. This is getting fun. I'm going to see what I can do with this, and if we can make this thing work again, very cool. It'll never be one of my main systems. I have many other Xbox 360s around here, more advanced than this one, that have HDMI and such, that are just a better Xbox. And in fact, I have 2 Trinities right now that are both RGH modded, but early in the RGH days, and one of them works pretty consistently, but the other one, the timing is something I was never happy with. Long boot times, and just never that happy with it. So what I'm going to be doing as probably my next project will be updating that older reset glitch to the newest reset glitch 3, which will actually allow the Xbox itself to become and perform the glitch. And from what I've seen, it reduces those boot times to near instantaneously. So that'll be a great mod, and if it works in the one Trinity, I see no reason why I'm not going to update my other Trinity as well to make them both as good as they can be. I'll probably go inside and do a good inspection and restoration, and possibly hard drive replacements, even though they've had them before. I'll have to see what their capacities are like, but I might hot rod those two. And then these other 360s, I got a couple other red ring of deaths here too, so I bought like 60 of these capacitors, enough to do like 6 systems, and I don't even have that many that are failed, so I bought some for the future. And those ones that are failed, if depending on these results here, I may replace those others. And if I can get all these Xboxes working again, that could have been the problem all along with these ones, is those known capacitors, these Sanyo capacitors. Yeah, they're garbage basically. They're gonna fail, and give it enough time, and any of these Xboxes, I believe, that probably use those capacitors will suffer that same fate with enough time. So I got them out of there now. This has new thermal paste. This has new capacitors. I mean, even though this is like an old revision 1.0, unfortunately without HDMI, who knows if we can't get this thing back to life and give it a new lease on life with new parts and new thermal paste. This thing could possibly end up becoming more reliable than it ever was to begin with. So let's just see if we can make that happen. So join me in the next video. Thanks for hanging out so long as you did today, if you did, and leave a like, comment. This channel's still new. I don't think that I even have any comments yet, so I don't know that anybody's even watching these videos. But if you like them and you want to see more stuff, you can leave ideas for projects. I have some of my own that I'm going to be getting through, and with all the new tooling and stuff that I have here, I'm going to be able to do a whole lot more than I was before. So yeah, in the name of other YouTubers like Macho Nacho Productions and What's Ken Making and along those lines, I have a Mister that was due for delivery today, a Mr. Pie from Taki Udon, another creator that I have a lot of respect for. I have his batch 2 is my pre-order was supposed to be here today, and it cleared customs 2 days ago in Vancouver and was due for today, but I've been checking the shipping notification almost all day because I am eagerly anticipating that Mister, which will be another cool new project that I can probably create some content from here on the channel, because I also today even ordered a NFC reader and cards. I wanted to get the bare circuit board for the readers. I got them each off AliExpress, and I'll be able to 3D print what I think will be a cool enclosure that I will be able to kind of like make game cards and print artwork for them, so that they can simulate old art and cartridges of the past, and you can tap them on this console NFC reader that I'll 3D print, and it will automatically load those games. So that's a cool new project. It's actually a video that I just watched last night from What's Ken Making, and so he's inspired me for a whole lot of new ideas, in fact, so I can't thank him enough for the great work he does. He's an amazingly talented creator and maker in the space, so I would suggest you guys go check him out. You probably already are if you're watching anything like this, because he's definitely a leader in this space and somebody that I look up to. So yeah, if you want to see more stuff like that, their stuff's always going to be better. Their production value is way better than mine. I've got so much to learn there, more than it takes to do any of these mods, that's for sure. So, but if you want to just have somebody else to watch, then I'd appreciate your company, and leave me some feedback, because I would love to hear some feedback. Positive or negative is fine, because I would like to make improvements to the channel. So thanks for everything, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.